Hello everybody, in this series we are answering the most popular technical interview questions for programming jobs. In this particular video we are going to answer 10 most popular questions that are asked for junior positions. In difference to warm-up questions that we have covered in the other video, you can miss one or two of them because you are not expected to memorize everything as a junior developer, but if you miss more than that, you will look like somebody that needs more practice before being paid to code. All questions in this series are divided into 5 difficulty levels that I named by job titles, mostly for fun. It doesn't mean that question with difficulty level of engineer will not be asked to junior developer job applicant. There are also 5 categories. You will be able to see them on the left side of the screen alongside with popularity of the question. If you are about to be interviewed, pause the video before I answer and try to answer it yourself. So question number 1, how can you put or remove item from beginning or the end of the array? It's very likely that you will get some variation of this question. So pause the video now and try to answer it yourself. Okay, so everybody remembers push. The other 3 are used more rarely, so we tend to forget. Unshift to put in the front of the array, shift to remove it, push to put into the end of the array, and pop to remove it from the end of the array. Question number 2. What is the difference between for each and map? It's really popular question as well, so pause the video now and try to answer it yourself. So here is the answer. Map returns new array and for each returns undefined. Therefore, you can chain methods on map, but you cannot do it on for each. It's safe way to answer just those first 2. I think it should be good enough. If you want to shine, you can mention performance difference, but I encourage you to read a lot before you do it. Some sources says that for each is mutating the original array and map doesn't, but this is not really the case. So better just don't mention mutability. Both of those methods are taking index as a second argument, so you can use it to mutate each of the element in the array. Question number 3, how can you copy the object in JavaScript? So juniors tends to forget that object is a reference type and you cannot just assign it to a new variable and then mutate it, because you will mutate the original objects. So it's really fair question to ask, and I encourage you to give a full answer right here. So pause the video and try it yourself. So to make a shallow copy, the most common practice is to use spread operator, but you can use object.assign as well. To make a deep copy, so when you have nested objects inside, you can use JSON praise, then JSON stringify, and you putting your object in the parentheses, or structured clone. Question number 4, what would you use spread operator for? So pause the question and try to answer it yourself now. So if you are not going to be asked the previous question, you might be asked some variation of this question, like what are 3 dots in JavaScript for, or how can you include all properties from object 1 into object 2, or if it's a React job, for example, what would be the best syntax when you modify a piece of state that is an object, but you only want to modify one property of that object. So it's really good idea to know how useful spread operator is. General answer is allows us to quickly copy all or part of an existing array or object into another array or object. Okay? Question number 5. What is a RESTful API? And that's the simplest version of this question that you might hear while targeting full stack or backend junior position. Even if you're being interviewed for front-end junior position, it's quite a basic concept, and it's good to know how it works, as you will probably have to write calls to REST API, right? One or two of the harder versions of this question we are going to cover in the other videos for junior engineer or engineer applicants. So pause the video now and try to figure out your own answer. If you cannot define it in your own words and you will answer with encyclopedic definition, that's completely fine. Just be ready for follow-up question about example of REST API. So REST API is an application programming interface that uses HTTP methods to access data via URL encoded parameters and the use of JSON or XML to transmit data. You might get a little follow-up question here to point out the methods that you can use. I marked also get and post in the other color just for you to remember that browser can send only those two types of methods. Question number 6. What is the difference between null and undefined? So pause the video now and try to come up with your own answer. Null is an unsigned value, it means nothing. Undefined means a variable has been declared but not defined yet. Also, type of null will return an object, and type of undefined will return undefined. Question number 7. What is the difference between double equals and triple equals? Very popular question as well. Now it's time to pause the video and answer yourself. Double equals checks for value equality only. It does type correlation. It means that before checking the values, it converts the types of the variables to match each other. On the other hand, triple equals does not do it, and that's the simple answer. Last 3 questions are about CSS, and this is first and most popular of those 3. What is a box model in CSS? Pause the video now and try to answer. So it is a box that wraps around every HTML element. It consists of margin, border, padding, and the actual content. That's the box model. Next question, question number 9. What is specificity in CSS? Pause the video and try to answer yourself. Here I have to mention that really you don't need to answer with a definition. I have googled the answer that I'm giving you here, but I myself usually answered something like, well, if there is more than one CSS rule that points to the same HTML element, the one with higher specificity will be applied. But if you want, you can remember one of these definitions that you can find on MDN or so on. And the last question, number 10. What is the difference between display none and visibility hidden? It's quite specific question, but if I remember well, I was asked that question on at least like 5 interviews. So pause the video now and try to come up with your own answer. Both of them makes element invisible, but visibility hidden still occupy the space, while display none doesn't. So that's it for top 10 most common technical questions for junior positions. You are probably going to get anywhere between 3 and 10 of those in your interview, usually after the warm-up questions, but before the hardest ones. As I have mentioned before, missing 1 or 2 of them doesn't disqualify you, but it's good to make sure that you can talk about things like REST API, box model, or spread operator. I will upload more videos with most common technical interview questions. Questions in this video are checking if you have been practicing enough. Next one is going to cover questions that checks if you know web development in depth. I will probably call the next video junior engineer questions instead of junior developer. Please let me know in the comment section which one of those you have been asked in your interview, or if you have been asked multiple times about something else that falls into this category. And see you later. Good luck and take care.